Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 32 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine, building and painting a new Kataphron Destroyer and unleashing its firepower on the battlefield. Hello, I'm Mike and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you issue 32 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine today. And in this issue we get the first of 3 Kataphron Destroyers for the Adeptus Mechanicus. As always, if you want to see it in battle, you can use the time code in the description or use the chapter bars. But as usual, we'll have a quick look through the magazine first. As always, when we have a new unit, we get a battle record for the Kataphron Destroyers. You can see this one has the plasma covering. It's a sort of half a man attached to some tracks. And you can see we'll get 3, and as always you can give them a name and record their deeds. And then some background on servitors themselves. Artificial intelligence is not allowed in the Imperium, so what you do instead is you take a human, usually a criminal, and you lobotomize them to be perfectly docile and obedient, and then you just attach whatever bits you need to them. So you can see this one here has a gun, a searchlight and some claws. Or if you really need to, you put them in some tracks and put a big gun on them. And we also have electro priests who are fanatically devoted to the cause of the cult Mechanicus, and they actually have devices that channel the motive force. And there are 2 different factions, the Corpuscari and the Fulgurites. And also have some of the vehicles the Mechanicus uses, so the Honoured Dune Crawlers, which are effectively the sort of main battle tank equivalent for the Mechanicus, and the Scutari, that part of them are wired into them permanently. And you have the Iron Striders here, more mobile walkers. There's 2 different types, the Iron Strider Ballastarii, which you can see pictured, have the guns, and then the Sidonian Dragoons, who are more melee focused. And then we have background on the Age of Strife. Previously, mankind spread across the galaxy. Then during the Age of Strife, human psychers began to appear on certain worlds, and then all of these untrained psychers caused large warp storms to split mankind apart, effectively. And aliens took advantage of the discord, and all these warp monstrosities wiped out several worlds, and effectively caused mankind to become extremely insular and distrustful, so they hate psychers and they hate aliens, and any hope of diplomacy with them was lost. And now we can get onto the build guide for the Kataphron Destroyers. We do get 3 separate sprues, and they are all different, so you would have to buy them all separately if you wanted to get more of them. And there are parts for a different unit, which we don't get the build guide for. It does suggest doing them in sub-assemblies. It does make them much easier to paint. So you have the tracks and then the body, and you keep the tracks off the base, so you can paint the underside. And you can glue the gun in, but once you paint it up, the gun will stay in enough, so you can leave it unglued if you want to swap them out, because you do have the choice between the 2 guns. And then the painting guide is similar to the other Mechanica stuff. There's lots of mechanical parts, and red is a predominant colour. There's red and cream, and take care doing the Mechanica symbols. But then yeah, and it looks pretty good there. Obviously we'll be adding to it in the future, and there are 2 more to come. So with that all over, I can hand you over to Will.
So shortly we'll be on to our game, but first we have some new rules for our Adeptus Mechanicus forces to use. These are called Canticles of the Omnissiah. This is actually a set of 6 rules the Adeptus Mechanicus player gets to choose from, and you can use these rules if all the 8 models in your army have the Adeptus Mechanicus keyword, so that's a key point. It's a benefit you only have if you have a pure Adeptus Mechanicus force and not a mixed Imperial force, for example with Space Marines or other forces mixed in. So at the start of each battle round, the player may activate one of these 6 Canticles, and they all grant the army, or at least the units that have the Canticles of the Omnissiah ability, a benefit. But there is a stipulation that once you've used one, you can't use it again, so you do have to use a different one on each of the battle rounds of the game. So I'll very quickly go through them, but you'll probably see them in action in our games to come. So number 1 is Shroud's Arm, which grants the units light cover. Incantation of the Iron Soul means they can ignore modifiers to combat attrition tests, so it makes them less likely to run away, and they can also ignore mortal wounds on 5+. Chant of the Remorseless Fist gives them +1 strength. Litany of the Electromancer means they are -1 to be hit in melee. Benediction of the Omnissiah lets them reroll either a hit roll, a wound roll, or a damage roll when resolving the attacks of the unit. And finally, Invocation of Machine Vengeance allows them to roll an extra d6 for advanced and charge rolls and discard the lowest result. So all useful abilities that you can use depending on the conditions of the game. And on the back there is just a tutorial of how this works, so it's again mentions you can only use them once, so it suggests here you can make notes so you know which one you've used. There's just an example here of units we have that get these rules so far. Kataphron Destroyer and the Tech Priest Dominus. These Scutari Rangers do not have Canticles of the Omnissiah. Then we have the datasheet for the Kataphron Destroyers, or the one Kataphron Destroyer we have at the moment. So for the moment we've been ignoring where it says number 3 in the unit, because we've only got 1. It has a 6-inch move and a weapon stone ballistics of 4+, strength and toughness 5, it has 3 wounds and 3 attacks. It's leadership 7 and it has a 3+ save. It has a variety of weapon options. I'll go over the ones that are on the model that we received with this issue. So that's the Plasma Culverin. As you can see, it says that eventually 2 models will have Plasma Culverin and Cognis Flamer, and 1 model will have the Heavy Grav Cannon and Phosphor Blaster. Like other plasma weapons, has 2 firing modes, but it's a heavy D6 weapon with a blast rule. And rather than the bearer being killed if they roll a hit roll of 1, it just suffers a mortal wound instead. And it also has the Cognis Flamer, which is an automatically hitting weapon with D6 plus 2 shots, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage. As you can see in its abilities, it does have the Canticles of the Omnissiah. It has Bionics, so it gets a 6+ invulnerable save. And track from ability just means that it can behave a bit like infantry when faced with terrain with the breachable trait, presumably because it just drives through walls and things. Even though it is not infantry, it is a biker, technically, as you can see from its keywords. And a tutorial on its guns. The Plasma Culverin one is the one we're interested in here, which has the blast rule. We know what those kind of weapons do. There's also a bit for the Heavy Grav Cannon, but we'll look at that when we get that model. And then the background for the game, the Overlord's advance. So the war for the moon of Tsiphos is starting to turn against the Necrons as some of their forces stall in place and Imperial reinforcements continue to arrive. So the Necron Overlord has decided to lead an attack personally, frustrated at the lack of success of his underlings. And he's chosen somewhere called Bastion Tyrax to attack, which is an Adeptus Mechanicus garrisoned fortress. So his objective is to break through and establish a foothold in the fortress itself, whereas the Adeptus Mechanicus forces besieged in the fortress obviously have to hold the Necrons off. And then we have the next in our scout mission pack, Relentless Assault. So for this game we have the forces for the Necrons being the Overlord, obviously, 10 Necron Warriors and 5 Immortals. The Adeptus Mechanicus have a Tech Priest Dominus, 10 Scutari Rangers and our new Kataphron Destroyer. The battlefield is set up like this, so you've got 3-inch deployment zones on the short edges, 2 more and 2 more armed containers, and then the new ruin set up 3 inches from the centre of the battlefield and towards the Adeptus Mechanics end, and a few scattered crates and barrels as well. And then for the objectives, well, it does say victory points rewarded, but that's actually just a typo. There is a single objective, which is Line Breaker. It's an endgame objective. If the Necron Overlord is wholly within the Adeptus Mechanicus to player's deployment zone, at the end of the 5th battle round, the Necrons win. Otherwise, the Adeptus Mechanicus. So, quite a simple game. We will get the game set up and then get straight into it. And here you have a look at our battlefield. We've got the large terrain pieces set up as specified, and then it actually just says to scatter your Prometheum drums and ammo boxes around, so we've done that. We haven't actually had them since we had the terrain rules. They are just obstacles which have the light cover and exposed position rules. Having a look at the Necron deployment on the right hand end of the board, we've got the Warriors closest to the camera, the Overlord in the middle, and the Immortals over on the left. And the Adeptus Mechanicus deployment on the other end.
Yeah, I've got the Scutari in position, see if I can go towards the ruin in the middle and get up on the upper floor, and the Tech Priest Dominus and the Kataphron Destroyer just above them.
And it doesn't say who gets to go first, so we need to be rolling off. So, the Adeptus Mechanicus 1 or 2?
I think I'll go first.
So we'll be on to Adeptus Mechanicus, turn 1. At the start of the battle round, we get to pick one of the new Canticles of the Omnissiah.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Shroud Psalm, because it's probably going to have the most benefit right now, because there's the most Necrons on the board, and hopefully might protect the Kataphron from return fire, because it doesn't actually get cover from any of the terrain, because it's not an infantry, beast or a swarm unit, it's a biker.
Yeah, and remember this only benefits the Tech Priest Dominus and the Kataphron Destroyer, not the Scutari, because they do not have the Canticles of the Omnissiah rule.
In my movement phase, the Kataphron Destroyer is going to stay where it is. You can see the Immortals, which is what I want it to shoot at, and the Warriors can't really see it from where they are, so it's covered from them. While my infantry and the Tech Priests have started moving into the building, and there's a sort of weird queue so they can all shoot over each other's shoulders through that tiny little window in the building. So in the shooting phase, I'll start with the Kataphron Destroyer, and he's going to shoot the Plasma Culverin at the Immortals. No, we're not going to supercharge because there's literally no benefit, because the Immortals are toughness 5 and I don't want to wound myself unnecessarily. So D6 shots for 2. Hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s because the Tech Priest is nearby. That's 1 hit. That wounds on a 3. It does.
Here's an AP -3. I will put it on one of the guys who will receive cover from the boxes, so I get a 5+ save. 1 minute.
I'll do the Tech Priest Dominus next. He has 3 shots, hitting on 3s because he moved and it's a heavy weapon, and no rerunning 1s because he is not a core unit. Well, no. Here's a tiny window, it's hard to shoot through all his mates. And then we've got the Scutari Rangers who are going to do some shooting as well. Everyone except the man with the data tether and the Alpha can't see anything, everyone else can shoot at the Immortals. So we've got 10 shots from galvanic rifles, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. So those are all hits, and then these are re-rolled into another hit. So that's 8 hits. Wounding on 5, so it's only strength 4. 3 wounds.
With an AP of -1. I think there are 3 of them who will probably receive cover from that distance, so I'll do the 3.
3 plus saves.
Yeah. So failed 1.
Yes, that's 1 dead so far. I'll do the Plasma Caliber next. It's 2 shots, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, because it's an assault weapon, not a heavy weapon. That's 1 hit. Wounds on 3, it does.
I'll put this on someone in cover as well, giving me a 5+. Failed, so that's 2 dead so far.
Right. So I got a single arc rifle shot, hitting on 3s, because it's a rapid fire weapon, rerolling 1s. It hits. Wounds on a 3 because it's strength 6. It does not. Then the sniper, 1 shot hitting on a 4, because it is a heavy weapon, rerolling 1s, he missed.
So 2 dead immortals, they both have to be ones who were receiving cover because of the way I took my saves.
But do they come back?
They might come back on 5s. Neither of them do, so they're dead. But that's the end of the Adeptus Mechanicus turn. No morale test necessary for the immortals, so on to Necron's turn 1. In my command phase, I put my will be done on the warriors because they're going to have more shots this turn, and I'm not going to use my resurrection orb on the immortals. So we moved like this, so the warriors have all kind of bunched up because they're actually struggling to see the Skitarii through the window. And then we'll be on to the shooting phase, and we'll actually shoot with the warriors first because clever casualty removal could actually make so some more of them can't see. At the moment, 7 of them can, and they're shooting at the Skitarii ranges. So only the 7 shots hitting on 2s because mine will be done. They all hit. And wounding on 3s. 2.
So 2 of the rangers with galvanic rifles are actually just inside the area terrain. I think the rules in their magazine said it was wholly within, but it is actually just within, so they get the cover. So 2 4+ armor saves. Oh, failed both, so they're both gone.
Yes, that was those 2 in the middle. And then the immortals will shoot at the rangers as well because they're in rapid fire range. They could shoot with the Kataphron Destroyer, but they wouldn't be. And also he's receiving cover at the moment from Shroud's arm, so 6 shots hitting on 3s. 3 hits. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds with an AP of -2.
That's going to be on guys with rifles who aren't in cover. So 6+ invulnerable saves. Failed both, so that's 2 more dead rangers. Take away this one and this one.
But that's all my shooting, because obviously the Necron Overlord doesn't have a gun. In the morale phase, the Skitarii Rangers lost 4 and their leadership 8.
Yeah, so on a 5 or a 6 after take combat attrition. Whoop. They're fine.
But that will be it for Battle Round 1. So on to Adeptus Mechanicus turn 2. Then we get to pick a Canticle of the Omnissiah for Battle Round 2.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Benediction of the Omnissiah, which will allow the Kataphron and the Dominus to reroll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, and 1 damage roll. So in my movement phase, there's some more shuffling around behind the building, basically so everyone can see through the window. Fortunately, it does mean the people with heavy weapons or cows moving, and the Kataphron moved up a little bit so it can see around the building at the warriors. So I'll start the shooting phase with the Skitarii Rangers. The sniper I did move so you can see the Lord, so he'll shoot at the Lord, and all the other Rangers can shoot at the Immortals. I'll start with the Alpha's Blast Pistol. It has D3 shots for 2.
Slight correction here, as the name suggests, the Tsiphos Blast Pistol is a blast weapon, and so it should actually be having the maximum of 3 shots when shooting at the 10-man unit of Necron Warriors. Unfortunately, we just forgot.
And these hit on 3s, rolling 1s. They both hit. They're strength 5, so they wound on 4s. They get 1 wound at AP -1.
4+ save. Failed. It's 1 dead so far.
I'll do the Plasma Caliber, not supercharging. 2 shots hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. Whoop, get it in the box. 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. 1 wound.
6+ save. Nope, 1 left.
2 arc rifle shots, hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. They both hit. Wounding on 3s. There's 1 wound again, at -2 AP.
5+. Failed. That's them dead.
And they're all dead.
And that is the Immortals killed off, so they don't get to reanimate.
We still have the Sniper shooting at the Lord. 1 shot hitting on a 4, rolling 1s. He hit. Strength 7, so he wounds on a 3. Nope. So now I'll do the Kataphron Destroyer. It's going to fire the Plasma Culverin at the Warriors. Not supercharging. It would wound on 2s, but I'd rather not blow myself up. So D6 shots for 5 this time. It would have been a minimum of 3 because it's a blast weapon. But... So these are re-rolling 1s, but one of them I can re-roll it, whatever the result, because of Benediction of the Omnissiah. So I can re-roll the 1 and the 2.
Yeah, the 1 from the Dominus and the 2 from the Benediction.
Yeah, they're still missed. So these wound on 3s, and I can re-roll one of them if it's a fail. Well, they're all wounded, so it's 3 dead warriors.
Yes, because it's AP -3. Take away these ones at the back. Do they come back on 5s re-rolling 1s? No, none of them do.
And finally I've got the Tech Priest Dominus, who's going to shoot at the warriors as well. I'll do the Volkite Culverin, whatever it's called, first. And I can re-roll one of these because of Benediction of the Omnissiah. And these hit on 3s because he moved. One hit, I can re-roll 1 into a hit. And these wound on 3s because it's turn 6. And 6s do 2 mortal wounds. Oh, there's 2 mortal wounds and 2 wounds.
So that's 2 definitely dead, and then 2 4+ saves. Which I've failed 1 off, so that's 3 dead total.
And then the Phosphor Serpenta has a single shot hitting on a 2. That hits. So this wounds on a 3 because it's strength 5. It wounded.
Nice.
AP -1.
So 5+. That's another one dead, so that's 4 total. I'll just be taking off the back and roll your animations immediately. 5 for rolling 1s. Oh, nothing, and a bit of 1. Oh, okay, 1 comes back. So, well, we take away these 4 and then bring 1 back, put it at the front, like that. Well, that's all the shooting. In the morale phase, the Necron Warriors actually have to take a morale test because they lost 6. So on a 5 or a 6, some more might run away. Oh, a 6! Oh dear. So 1 runs away. And then they have to take combat attrition tests. They're below half strength, so 1s or 2s the remaining models run away. So 3 dice. Another 1 does. So 1 did run away, and then this one will as well. So not looking good for the Necrons as we head into Necrons turn 2. Well, in the command phase I will use the Resurrection Orb because it's probably the last time I have to do it. There are 8 Necron Warriors missing, and as far as we can tell, the ones who ran away, it does say they count as being destroyed, and that's the condition for the Resurrection Orb. Every model that was destroyed begins to reassemble, so as far as we can tell, they do get to come back even though they ran away. But if you know better, then please leave a comment and let us know. So we've got 8 dice looking for 5s or 6s, re-rolling 1 of those. We've got 3 back so far, and 4 1s to re-roll. Re-roll, only 1 more, so 4 come back. And they reassemble in front like that. And I will use my Will Be Done on them as well, obviously, because they're the only core unit available. The Warriors march up to the building like so, and the Overlord is following up behind them. Onto the shooting phase. The Warriors can all see the Kataphron Destroyer, so we're going to shoot at that, because I'm hoping to be able to charge the Skitarii and tie them up that way instead. 12 shots, hitting on 2s, because of my Will Be Done. 4 1s though, so only 8 hits. Wounding on 5s, because it is straight at toughness 5. So just 1.
So that's 1 4+ save. Which I may.
I will be declaring a charge probably with both my units. We're going to do the Overlord first. He's going to charge the Skitarii Rangers. He needs a relatively decent roll to get through the wall to attack them. So 4 is definitely not going to be enough. And that means the Necron Warriors are going to need to charge the Rangers as well, because it's quite a long charge to the Destroyer and need to tie something up. I think a 2 is enough, but a little bit more would be nice. A 6 will do. The Skitarii can actually set to defend as well, so they get +1 to hit in melee, but the Necron Warriors finish their charge like that. You can see there's a couple in the corner of the building in there, and there's still 2 outside the building over here. Then we're on to the fight phase, where the Necron Warriors charge, so they get to go first. And they pile in a smidge, lets another one get through the wall. There's still 1 outside the building, but it can fight because it is within half an inch through the wall of one of his friends. 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, because my Will Be Done works in melee as well, which does help, 6 hits. Wounding on 3s, because they're strength 4. 4 wounds.
4+ saves. Made 2 dead. This chap. I'll lose the sniper as well, just tends to not do very well. So I've got 3 regular attacks from the normal Skitarii Rangers, hitting on 3s this time, because they set to defend, and re-rolling 1s because of the boss man. On that 1. 2 hits. Wounding on 5s. Nope. The Ranger Alpha hits on 3s, rolling 1s. He gets 2 hits, and these wound on 3s because it's strength 6. They both wound, and it's AP -2.
So 6s is needed to save. I'll roll 1 6. I'll take away the warrior outside the building. Does it get back up? Oh, it does. Now he will reanimate slightly further back than he was, because I accidentally moved the warrior unit outside of 3 inches of the Overlord. But now I have corrected that error, and he's within lookout zone range again. Not enough casualties for the Skitarii to make a morale test this turn, because they did leadership 8 with the data teller. So we're on for Adeptus Mechanicus turn 3.
So at the battle round I'm picking Litany of the Electromancer. So both of these units are -1 to hit in melee. That wouldn't affect the Overlord because he already has -1 to hit and you can't go worse than -1. The Skitarii Rangers will fall back, the Dominus has moved over, and then the Kataphron has moved, and in this position it can see the Overlord and only the Overlord, I believe.
Yeah, you can't see any warriors, basically. Yeah, from the warrior's perspective, yeah, can't see anything.
Yeah, and then in the shooting phase, I'll do the Kataphron Destroyer first, because if I do the Dominus first and he kills any warriors, they can reanimate in the way, and then it'll have to shoot them as well. So it's going to put everything at the Overlord, because the flame will be in range. And I am going to supercharge the Plasma Culverin, because it does 2 damage. So D6 shots from the Plasma Culverin. 6, that's a good start. Hitting on 4s, re-rolling 1s. Oh, please don't re-roll to 1s. Oh, that's better. It's 5 hits. Phew.
Yeah, the ones do... Is it a mortal wound each?
Yeah, it's a mortal wound each.
Yeah,
so you would have blown up. And these wound on 3s because it's strength 8. Ugh, 2.
2 4+ invulnerable saves. I'll make both.
And then we have d6 plus 2 shots from the Cognis Flamer for 7. And you automatically hit. And these wound on 5 because it's only strength 4. That's 2 wounds.
2 3+ armor saves. There's no AP. I made those as well.
So the Tech Priest Dominus has to shoot at the warriors. 3 shots from the Volkite Blaster, hitting on 3s because he moved. 1 hit again. Wounding on 3s, 6s do 2 mortal wounds in addition. No, it's just 1 wound.
I'll put it on someone who's in cover, so we get a 2+ save. 3+ save, sorry, yeah. So that's a fail.
And then the Phosphor Serpenter hits on a 2, it does not.
Since that's the end of their shooting, I'll actually take them my way, goes out here, and see if it reanimates. On a 5. Oh. And bring it back inside the ruin like that. But that'll be the end of Adeptus Mechanicus turn 3, because the Skitarii Rangers obviously fell back. So on to Necrons turn 3. In the command phase, obviously my will be done and go on the warriors, and then movement like this, the warriors have moved out the ruins, and the Overlord has moved up into the face of the Destroyer. In the shooting phase, the warriors will shoot at the Skitarii Rangers. 12 shots hitting on 2. Drop that one technically, I'll re-roll that. 4 once, so only 8 hits again. Wounding on 3s. 5 wounds.
5+ saves. Oh, 1 survives. Yeah, we'll leave the Alpha. Might have to do some clubbing.
After the charge phase, the Overlord will declare a charge on the Destroyer. It doesn't need to roll really, but yeah. He'll charge to there, stopping about an inch away from the Tech Priest Dominus. I'm fine if he wants to heroically intervene, because if he does that, the Necron Lord can hit him, because that's what happens if you heroically intervene, you are then a viable target. The Necron Warriors will declare a charge as well on the Skitarii Ranger. And they roll a 7. And they'll charge like that. Would you like to heroically intervene?
You.
So, onto the combat phase, I will pick the Overlord to fight first. He has 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. He missed once. He's strength 10, so he wounds the Destroyer on 2s because it's only toughness 5. That is 3 wounds. It does have a 6+ invulnerable save though.
3 6s.
No, takes 3 damage.
Oof.
Dies. That. He will not consolidate because doing so would actually let the Tech Priest hit him, which for free is not worth it. Then the Warriors will attack the Ranger, they don't need to pile in. 6 attacks on 2s, because if my will be done, they will hit anyway. Reading on 3s, 3 wounds.
3 4+ saves. Oh.
Nearly. But that will be the end of Necron's turn 3. On to Adeptus Mechanicus turn 4.
So I'm going to pick Chant of the Remorseless Fist. It's not actually going to make any difference, because it will be strength 7, which is irrelevant against the Necron units. And then he's just going to move around the boxes so that the Overlord doesn't get any cover, and then he'll shoot at him with both of his weapons. 3 shots from the Volkite Blaster, hitting on 3s. 3 hits this time. 3s to wound. 6s do 2 mortal wounds. No mortal wounds, but there's 2 wounds.
2 3+ saves. Oh, maybe.
And the Serpenter misses. And then we'll charge. He's in. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. 2 hits. No, that's not going to be enough. Wounding on 3s. 1 wound.
4+ invulnerable save. Oh, failed, so he does take 2 damage. He's down to 3 wounds, but he does get to hit back. 4 attacks on 3s. They will hit. Wounding on 2s. They will wound.
5+ invulnerable save.
No.
No, he's dead.
Takes 9 damage. And that is obviously the end of that. The Necron Overlord, yeah, he's 2 turns to get wholly within 3 inches of the Adeptus Mechanicus board edge, which obviously he's going to achieve from there. So yeah, that will be a Necron victory by the end of Battle Round 5, and we'll recap that for you now. So that was a game for issue 32 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How do you think that went?
Yeah, it was certainly going well until you got into melee. I don't think there's much I'd change about my strategy. It just didn't go plan out the way I wanted to, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was going pretty well for you at the start. My shooting was relatively ineffective in the first couple of turns, only killed, I think, 4 Skitarii overall. Yeah, and I was down to 2 warriors and the Overlord at one point, but thankfully the Resurrection Orb brought enough back that they managed to carry the day.
I do think it might have been better to leave the Skitarii Rangers in melee just to tie up the warriors and then use my Destroyer and the Dominus to try and shoot with the Destroyer and then charge with the Dominus, but the Overlord made all of his invulnerable saves anyway, so the Rangers, their special weapons do most of the damage, so once you tie them up, they're fine.
Yeah, I mean, the reason for charging the Skitarii was just, to tie up their shooting. It was also a case of getting forward as well, because the Necron Overlord obviously had to reach the end of the board, so having some support with him. If I'd sent him out the front by himself, he probably just would have got shot by everything.
Yeah, I do think you basically have to make at least 1 charger advance to actually get there as well.
Yeah, it's a fairly long distance to go in 5 turns. If it had gone a bit differently and you had a few more things left, if the Dominus managed to bog him down as well.
And the Destroyer did pretty well, to be honest. Didn't roll terribly well to wound on that last turn.
Yeah, it's certainly very good against the Warriors in particular, because not giving them a save and the fact that they're the big units.
And even the Immortals, if you get a decent roll, it can take out quite a few. It does only hit on 4s, but you can re-roll 1s, and you got that Canticle does it. And eventually you get a unit of 3 of them, so you can imagine how dangerous that will be.
Yeah, and as it says, you get 2 plasmas, and the Heavy Grav is also pretty good against Necrons, because it's better against things that have a 3+ save. We'll see that when we get it, but yeah, they're going to be pretty scary once there's a unit of 3 of them.
And with 2 Flamers as well, there's actually quite a lot of shots from it. In the normal unit, I think they can come in units of 6, not 3 as the magazine it says. And you can swap out whatever weapons you want. So you can have a unit of 3 with plasmas and 3 flamers, or the ones with plasmas can have the Fossil Blaster as well. Talking about Canticles, fortunately with the magazine you're pretty not actually going to see that much use out of them, because you only get 3 units that it will affect, and 2 of them are characters. Things like +1 strength in melee. It will help the Destroyers against Immortals and Necron characters, but you don't actually want the Destroyers to be in melee really. There isn't much Necron stuff that does mortal wounds, so ignoring them on 5+ isn't that useful. And combat attrition tests wouldn't help the Destroyers, because they only need to make a row test if 2 of them die. If they fail, the last one will run away. Legion of the Electromancer does help against things like the Destroyers. Shroud's Arm's pretty much always good. Again, mostly going to help the Destroyers. And the re-rolling things, that's pretty handy as well.
There are 2, arguably 3, that are mainly melee focused. One of them makes you more survivable in melee, which, as you say, will be useful against other melee units. But there are Adeptus Mechanicus units that are good in melee. The ones we get in the magazine aren't really.
Yeah, I mean, it's really useful for Electro Priests.
It's also useful that you actually get to pick them as well. You don't get to pick the same one twice, but you do get to choose which one is most relevant at the time. I suppose if you are going second in the battle round, then you do have to pick one that you hope is going to be useful in your turn, if that's what you're expecting. But that's still useful, I suppose. And
also note that you only get them if you have an entirely Mechanicus force as well. So if we have any mixed games...
Yeah, so for that game where we had the Tech Priest and 5 Assault Intercessors, he wouldn't have been able to use those rules if that were the case.
And most of them aren't that helpful for him anyway, so... I suppose it's not too big of a loss. They're a fairly minor boost with the force this size. Obviously, in larger games, the bonuses multiply.
And Skitarii do get their own set of rules, which I think are also on...
They have Doctrine Imperatives, which we do get in a later issue. We'll get an entire rule dedicated to one unit. And talk about Kataphron Destroyers. They do come separately, so I think it's not really that much saving compared to buying a box. I think it is 35 for 3, so you're not really getting that much of a deal. And I think you do actually have to buy all 3, because the sprue that came with this issue comes with all the tow hooks that you can see on the front. So there's 6 of those, and they all come on one sprue, so you would actually have to buy them all separately. And it does also come with the parts to make Kataphron Breaches, which are the alternate unit that have all the armour plates, but have different weapons. And the Breaches do have proper melee weapons, so I guess the Canticles are more useful for them as well. But Destroyers are the ranged option. And they look very 40k as well.
Yeah, I like them. I mean, half a dude on a tank tracks with a big gun, I mean... Well, anyway, I think that's just about it for this video, so if you enjoyed this content, then do leave a like and subscribe. Let us know what your thoughts were on the game, or on the Canticles of the Omnissiah, or on the new Kataphron Destroyer. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.